Hollywood usually tries to work with actors who have been in big television series or movies after they have achieved great success. Some actors become superstars, while others quickly disappear. Today, I will share a little story about one of these actors. Even though almost everyone predicted the Twilight trio's imminent death and oblivion immediately after the film's final credits, in the Twilight Saga, it turned out that the entire burden of oblivion took on only one actor. He's Taylor Lautner. To be honest, another actor's career was boosted by his involvement in Twilight. Kellen Lutz was not in a big role, and his fees were not similar to Lautner's. Taylor Lautner's career began with minor appearances in television series and was not well known. Director Robert Rodriguez took notice of Lautner there and recognized their potential in him. He was invited to one of the films by Rodriguez. Rodriguez approached him about playing one of the key characters in the film Sharkboy, 2005. The success of the Spy Kids television series served as inspiration for the picture, which has a promising future. Sharkboy, 2005, on the other hand, launched with a boom at the box office if Spy Kids was able to break the bank. In the same year, Taylor Lautner had time to light up in the sequel to Cheaper by the Dozen 2. The sequel was much worse than the original and grabbed a bunch of golden raspberry. In 2005, Lautner starred in 2 films whose audience ratings carefully punched the bottom, but critics hated them. Such a successful start has led to the fact that Taylor Lautner disappeared from Hollywood for 3 years. He returned in 2008 with the movie Twilight. Curiously, the actor did not want to star in a film like this, thinking he would finally bury his career. With a budget of $37 million at the box office, the film grossed $392 million at the world box office. Coming out the week after Quantum of Solace with a $200 million budget, teen fantasy had quietly pushed it from first place. Twilight earned $17 million at the start of the American box office, firmly placing it first among the most despised films among both audiences and critics. But for another part of the audience, Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, and Taylor Lautner woke up like stars. Lautner has already received $4 million for the Twilight Saga, New Moon, released just 1 year after the first film. A curious point: the actor was almost replaced in the sequel, not because someone did not like him, but because the plot called for a dramatically matured hero with overgrown muscles, and Lautner was supposed to be thrown overboard. The actor spent a lot of time jogging under the studio's windows during this time. In the end, Lautner managed to put on a few pounds of muscle mass, and the producers decided that the actor had gained enough mass and could star in the next part. The budget for the second part was $50 million, and at the start of the USA box office this time in 2012, Roland Emmerich suffered. The Twilight Saga, New Moon's first 3 days at the America box office grossed $142 million at the time of release, which was the best start for a film coming out in November in the history of the American box office, and the second best weekend result in history behind New Moon and The Dark Knight. All of the actors in the Twilight Saga went on a spree, and Taylor Lautner was no exception. At the box office, he lit up in the comedy Valentine's Day, which performed well at the box office. For the Twilight Saga, Eclipse, which came out in 2010, Lautner has received $7.5 million, and for the Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Part 12.5 million. The actor is said to have pulled the lucky TICKT. In 2011, they tried to make him a star because he had a black belt. Most likely, it was decided by some of the producers that Lautner would get a role in the action movie Abduction, for which he was paid $7.5 million. At the box office, the film was mediocre, but it cannot be called a definite failure at the box office. The worst thing was the estimates of the film from critics and the audience. The critics would have trampled Taylor Lautner in the mud if the audience ratings were bad. In their estimation, Abduction is the kind of film where it can't get any worse. Following this setback, it was evident that the actor's future was in jeopardy. Outside of the vampire pictures, audiences didn't care for him, and critics were quick to mock him. Beginning with the third film in the series, The Twilight Saga, the actor started to garner Golden Raspberry nominations regularly. He was usually nominated in 2 or 3 categories. He also garnered 3 Golden Raspberry nominations simultaneously for the final installment of the franchise. Kristen Stewart's net worth is the same as hers. Breaking Dawn, Part 2 of the Twilight Saga was released in 2012. Taylor was subsequently left without an offer after receiving another $12.5 million. And if he did choose to play a minor role, he was met with a Golden Raspberry and a barrage of criticism. Lautner's comeback to the big screen was confirmed in 2015. The return was dubbed Tracers, but when the film, which was intended to be distributed in the United States, started to vanish from the list of premieres, it was clear that the Lautner film had failed. The movie itself was very popular because the popularity of guys running around on rooftops and jumping up and down ladders wasn't what it used to be. Like When You Went All Yamakasi, 2001, or Banlu 13, 2004, and even they didn't make any impressive box office. Lautner appears to have accepted that he would never be a big actor. Although he was able to make a lot of money in 5 years by appearing in films with Bruce Willis, he did not burn out his drive, so he chose to quit the industry. Lautner hasn't acted since 2016, and he won't wait until 2022. Home Team, a sports comedy, was released on Netflix at the beginning of the year. This release hasn't sparked much interest among viewers, so don't expect to see Taylor on the big screen soon.